Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We're here today on the Cabral Concept House Calls, each and every weekend answering our community's questions. Hopefully, you've been a long-time listener by now. You know that each and every weekend we are looking at the wellness, the weight loss, the anti-aging, the health coaching, the motivation, whatever the question may be pertaining to the health-based space. Love being able to answer those exercise questions as well. Simply doing my best to share with you things that I've been able to learn over the past couple of decades that I think might be a great start for you as well. So yesterday we had a bunch of questions come in and we actually answered quite a few. That was episode 1632, where I'm really trying to catch up on that queue. Typically it's about 6 weeks to 8 weeks before you get your question answered at stephencabral.com/ask Cabral. But now, at least right now in this moment, we have it down to 4 weeks. So that's great. So yesterday we talked about diamine oxidase, which is the enzyme that helps to break down histamines. We spoke Lisa's question on why the recurring UTIs and herpes-based infections with the low immune system. We talked about the gene for breast cancer and how it relates maybe to flax. Spoke about weight loss and putting on healthy weight. Talked about GMO foods. Talked also on that. I remember that I'm going to create a specific whole podcast out of that. That's the thing. Your questions typically spawn more podcast ideas. And so if I can't answer the question within 3 to 4 minutes, then I'm going to make it a longer 20-minute show. And that's what I do. And so really, again, always listening to your feedback because the show is dedicated to you. I mean, it honestly is. It's how can I help teach what isn't mainstream? That's the thing. I mean, most of the things that you hear at mainstream are all propagated by the media or massive marketing budgets, and that's simply not what we do, nor do I find it very effective at helping people in the long run. We talked about a healthy breakfast idea, and that was from Laura, and then Patrick, we spoke about MS, yes, and that was for, I believe, his wife. Okay, so next up, we are on episode 1633. If you want to read along with today's questions, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/1633. So first question today is from Summer. Summer asks, "Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you for the wealth of knowledge you generously share. My question is regarding the bean protocol. Are you familiar with this diet? The most important point is that recycled bile becomes toxic in our bodies. She believes it needs to be cleared out using soluble fiber, beans in particular. Karen suggests her clients eat beans at least 3 times a day in the absence of fat so that the soluble fiber will bind to the dirty bile and carry it out. Virtually any health issue can be reversed with food alone. No supplements advised as they spike adrenaline. Though I love beans 3 times per day without fat for an hour and a half after limits my diet. At this time, I'm doing the CBO protocol, but I am concerned that I'm not clearing out bile anymore. I'm also concerned that if I eat soluble fibers with my fats, I won't absorb the nutrients in the fat. Would you share your thoughts?" I don't know who Karen is, so I'm just going to leave the first name. And Karen also believes that fruit of any kind, or even stevia, cause adrenaline rush that damages your adrenals. I am enjoying eating berries now, but I wanted to ask if you think it's safe for someone with adrenal fatigue. Many brilliant people in wellness, but it's difficult to choose a path with so much variation theory. Please advise. With gratitude, Summer. All right, I'm going to try not to go in a branch right now. I never give people's names, but the truth is you have to be very careful who you listen to. And I'm going to make this super easy. Anybody that has a severe diet recommendation for you is always wrong 100% of the time. Now, could it help in the short term? Sure. But is it always wrong 100% of the time? In the long run, the answer is yes. Absolutely. So when you think about the carnivore diet, is it wrong in the long run? Absolutely. Could it help in the short term? Yes. Why is it wrong? Well, it does not address an underlying root cause. And there are so many things wrong with this particular diet. For example, I have no problem with beans, but I work with a lot of people with digestive issues. And if you're telling me that you're going to give them beans, then you're going to come up with a lot of people who are bloated, that have distended stomachs, that you increase their IBS, that you increase their diverticulitis, and you're going to have some serious issues with those people. Why? Because beans feed bacteria, good or bad. They can also feed Candida because, yes, there are fructans in beans. So do we believe in people eating beans? Yes, we do. Do we believe in everyone eating beans? We do not. That's why any diet for everyone is always wrong. So there's that. Beans 3 times a day, that's quite a bit of digestion that needs to take place. And fruit causing a spike in adrenaline couldn't be more incorrect. Where's the physiology that shows that fruit spikes adrenaline? If anything, carbohydrates, fruit being one of them, actually calms the HPA axis because fruits or carbs in general are the only thing, not fats and protein, that can actually dampen the HPA axis, dampen the fight or flight response, help with improvement in serotonin. Now, could you say that dysregulation of blood sugar could cause a spike in norepinephrine? Yes, but that would mean that you have dysregulated blood sugar, and that's something else to work on. That's not your adrenals' fault. That's dysregulated blood sugar's fault. Maybe you have an issue with the cell membranes, the biphosphid or phospholipid layer that allows glucose in. Or maybe you are eating too much carbs right now with not enough movement, or your cell membranes aren't ready for that level. But certainly, that's not correct. And the part about supplements spiking adrenaline is completely out of control false. So most supplements are extracts. So what would spike adrenaline? And I would say it's almost converse to that. Yes, there are things that could spike adrenaline if given that for a specific reason, right? If you want to activate the sympathetic nervous system, you could certainly do that. But tell me how ashwagandha, L-theanine, rhodiola, I could go on and on, phosphoserine, those things actually calm the HPA axis. So I don't know who this person is. I have no problem with them. But I would be very careful for them giving a lot of advice to others that could be harmful. And I certainly would not follow this at all. If you have an issue with bile, well, open up the detox pathways. You could do the liver and gallbladder cleanse that I've spoken about before from Ayurveda. Keep in mind, Ayurveda has used supplements for many years. They just put them in teas. They put them in oils. They gave you in food. So saying that everything can be reversed with food alone, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, honestly, because you have to look at the food sources. You need to look at soil degradation. I talk about this in the rain barrel effect. The rant is now over. All right, Haley's up next. Thank you for sharing such great information on your podcast. I was diagnosed with Candida overgrowth last fall after facing immense stress. Mom unexpectedly passed away the same week I started my MBA while working full-time. I recently completed my MBA and feeling much less stressed. I was on fluconazole and feeling much better, but recently came off it, noticed signs of Candida again, especially in my fingers and pinky nail, even though my stress levels are lower. I typically walk over 10 miles each day, 2 walks a day. Could this be causing extra stress in my body and contributing to Candida? Am I overdoing it? Thank you in advance. Okay, so you were on an antifungal. Great, but here's the thing. It may not have, it doesn't rebalance the gut. So let's think of it this way. Let's say you're using oregano oil or grapefruit seed extract or cloves or thyme or what else is another great one? Let's throw in one more there as well. Caprylic acid, let's say. Okay, so all of those are antifungals, but they don't help to rebuild the gut. That's the issue. So when you use pharmaceuticals, unlike or a difference from like the CBO protocol, you don't actually do the rebuilding. So you have to stay on it forever, right? That's the issue. So what I would say is this. I would run the Candida metabolic and vitamins test along with the bacteria and parasite stool test. If you can only do one, I would do the Candida-based test. You can find those at equilibriumnutrition.com, or you can work with your local integrative health practitioner or a naturopathic doctor or functional medicine doctor, and that'd be great. So there's that. Or you could do the CBO protocol with the citracidal drops just in case there's any bacterial. And that's what I would do. And then it will teach you how to rebuild after that. You would do the CBO finisher. It could certainly be stress. So stress, what does it do? Well, stress can cause intestinal permeability. So that's why using something like the CBO finisher will also help with that. So that's where I would look, Haley. Good question, though. Dan's up next. Hi, thanks for all you do. You've recommended oil pulling with coconut oil to help whiten teeth. I wear retainers at night. I definitely already answered this question. So I put coconut oil in them. I definitely answered that question before, so that was just a duplicate right there. Okay, just tune back to previous podcast for your answer on can you put coconut oil in your retainers. Basically, the short answer was that it's just going to be gone within a couple hours. So it's not really an issue. Okay, Lal's up next. Hi, I have some questions about food combining. Is it okay to mix sweet and acidic foods in a smoothie, like banana and strawberries or banana and pineapple? I know they shouldn't be eaten together, but is it different if they're blended? What can tomatoes be eaten? Or with what can tomatoes be eaten? On some charts, they're an acidic fruit, and others, they're a veggie. With what nuts can be eaten? Or should they be eaten on their own? And seeds, should we soak them first? What about legumes? Thank you so much. Your podcasts are informative, and you are amazing. Thank you. Appreciate that, Lal. And I know, Lal, I answered some of your questions yesterday as well. So I've done now 2 shows on food combining. I'm going to look them up for you right now. Let's go to stevencabral.com/podcasts. I do the same thing as you. People, I always saying go to this page, use the search box, but I do the same thing because today's episode 1633. So we need to look back. And so all I'm going to do is type in food combining. That's it. All right. Let's see what we get for shows. So we'll be able to give you all of the reference points from there. Okay, so I just looked them up, episode 82 and 481. So now if I just click on it, stevencabral.com/481, that was the latest one. Shrink your stomach with these food combining principles. And again, like I said, I did it on episode 82. I have all the different links in there. And so what I'm saying is this. I have no issue with people blending foods together. Let's take one step back. If you have serious digestive issues, food combining becomes a bigger deal. It really does. And then if you have less stomach issues, food combining becomes less of a big deal. Now, do I think you should mix meat and fruit together? No, I never do. But do I think it's okay to mix your subacid fruits with your acid fruits? Yes, I do, especially if they're blended in a smoothie. I have no problem with that because a smoothie is the great equalizer. You're taking all of these foods. So the big issue with food combining is your digestion. So your digestion uses different enzymes. It uses different amounts of stomach acid, and you also have to worry about the transit time of that food through your stomach. So if you're combining subacid fruits and acid fruits and you're blending them together, especially if they're raw or frozen, then good. You're going to move that smoothie through your stomach pretty quickly because it's been liquefied. Now, do you want to really combine your proteins with your fruits or things like that? No, never. Because here's why. So proteins, especially like a meat, would take hours to digest, where fruit might take 30 minutes. So that's why they're going to end up fermenting in your stomach. I go much more in depth. I would love you to tune into episode 481. And then I have all the charts there right there too. So, your nuts and your seeds, they're not a great food combiner. They're not a great food combiner with proteins and meats. They're a high fat. Nuts and seeds are basically a higher fat. But they do actually combine pretty well with a lot of veggies, and they combine pretty well if you blend them up in a smoothie, okay? Not as well, but okay, they really do. So it goes back to how's your digestion overall. And the biggest thing to understand is that I would say nuts and put proteins in there, you have to be more careful about food combining. You really do. Proteins almost should be a mono meal with some veggies. So non-starchy veggies and protein like meat or fish, they go well together. So let's say you had some salmon and you decided to have asparagus and broccoli with it, and then add maybe a little olive oil because it's already been kind of broken down from the olives themselves. Okay, then that can be a great meal. All right, so again, we teach a lot of this inside of the CBO protocol and inside of IHP as well. All right, hopefully that answers your question. And again, much more detail in episode 481. And then again, about sprouting, whenever you sprout something or soak it for legumes, it always makes it more digestible. So really, we're just talking about making things more digestible. And yes, it does help a lot, actually. All right, Jeannie is up next. Hello, Dr. Cabral. I know you have many times talked about how much protein someone should be getting, and I'm listening to all those different podcasts, and thank you for that. But I'm still trying to figure out more specifically the information for myself. I'm 45 years old, a woman, and I weigh approximately 115 pounds. I'm very active, Vata type person who likes to be moving and exercising a lot. I eat very clean and eat lots of organic fruits and vegetables mainly, but I guess getting lots of protein too. I track my food intake for several weeks and notice my macronutrients is an average of 27 to 30% protein, with about 120 to 125 grams of protein a day. From what I'm listening to in your podcast, is that too much? Can too much protein be a negative thing for someone that's active? I don't have any side effects that I know of, but just wondering. Thanks. Okay, Jeannie. 45 years old, woman, mainly a Vata body type. That's important because really, who am I talking to? If I'm talking to a Kapha body type or endomorphic body type, especially more of a male, and 45, family history of high blood pressure, heart disease, etc., well, I'd say, yeah, I think we need to err on the side of caution. 45 years old, mainly Vata, female. Do I think 25% protein would be okay? Potentially. Do we really know? No, but that's why we run lab tests every year, right? So like, okay, what do your arteries look like? What's your cholesterol look like? All of these specific things. But protein really is about also anabolism. And so that's the biggest factor I try to get across on like the mounting evidence against meat show and all those different things. I'm not against it. What I'm against is too much of it, and then not a healthy form of it, like a wild fish or a pastured poultry or a green and grass finished and fed meat. So that's really more what I'm talking about. And then, of course, the higher omega-6s and the non-wild-based varieties. But to me, a Vata, they'll do pretty well with typically 20-25% maximum of their protein. But a Vata who's very active needs more carbohydrates. So it just may be, and I can't give you exact recommendations, especially not over a podcast. But to me, it seems like you need to increase your carbohydrates a little bit, especially if you're not gaining weight and you teeter on losing weight. So the more active you are, the nice thing is typically the more carbohydrates you get to eat, and carbohydrates are the predominant fuel source for humans. Can you force it to turn protein into carbs? Yes, you can. Can you force your body to use ketones for energy? Yes, you can. Should you? Only as needed. That's it. Like literally only as needed. The preferred fuel source, if it doesn't dysregulate blood sugar, et cetera, are carbohydrates. They really are. They're not the enemy. All right, Allison's up next. Thank you so much for being you. Thank you, Allison. I appreciate that. That's a nice compliment. I think so. I should say, I think so. Over the last 1.5 years, I've been using your products. I've done a big 5 lab tests and done several protocols, including the Candida, mold, heavy metal, and modified Candida. Unfortunately, still have bloating. I'm looking pregnant. I wake up feeling like I have to burp. When I eat carbs or fruit, get automatically bloated. If I eat meat and greens, I'm okay. Please help. I want to eat fruit and other carbs and not get swollen. What should I do? Other than that, I feel great. I have come so far in my health. Thanks to you. I'm extremely grateful. All right, Allison, again, since we've worked with so many people, we've heard this many times. It's not common. But again, when you work with well over 250,000 people, you hear these things. And so I'd love to be able to share with you things that we've done in the past, right? They may work for you, they may not. But the nice thing is this journey of life, it continues. And the more we do, the more we try, the more we learn, the more we grow. And we eventually figure it out. So it looks like you have everything figured out, except you don't do well with the more of the fruit. Okay, so what I would say is this. Just kind of going back to our friend above, Lal, maybe you're not doing well with the food combining part of it. Maybe you do well with fruit on its own. I'm just going to give you a list of variables that we test. This is exactly what we do in our practice. This is why we're able to figure things out. We don't make assumptions like you should be on all beans all day, right? We don't make those assumptions. We say, what's wrong? And then let's test variables. Okay, so for Allison, I would say, you wake up feeling bloated. That's very interesting. What if you changed your dinner the night before? What if you didn't have dinner the night before? Would you wake up bloated the next morning? If the answer is no, okay, well, there's something going on with dinner and your digestion overnight. We can fix that. If you eat fruit by itself, no smoothie, no anything else, do you get bloated? If the answer is yes, we'd say, okay, what if you eat fruit without skin? Do you get bloated then? And if the answer is no, well then, oh good, we're having difficulty with digestion. What if you can eat food from our CBO protocol on the sensitive gut guide, but you can't eat other fruit? Okay, well then there's still an issue then with fructans. So my thing is, if you're also someone that continually gets Candida overgrowth or continually gets SIBO or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, we need to look at, is there a little bit of stress there? Is there kind of this underlying anxiety that's weakened the peristaltic movement? Because we need to get those bowels going. We need to make sure that you're not stressed and holding that in your gut. So there's so much that we could look at, so much that we could do. Anybody that wakes up automatically and feeling bloated or having to burp, I would start to use just mastic gum and just try that. Just see if there is some underlying H. pylori there, right? So those are all the things that I look at, and at least, Allison, it's a nice place to get started, I think. So that's what I'd recommend. We'd be happy to help you further. Again, it's only about testing variables. It really is. This one last thing we need to figure out. If you feel good with protein and greens, then it very well could be some type of issue with fermentation in the gut. So we need to say, Allison, let's say that we just have you on just one of the antimicrobials, like an oregano oil or even one of our antimicrobial-based formulas? Do you feel better while you're on that and you're able to eat fruit while you're on it? Okay, well then there's this history of the body allowing for this overgrowth of Candida. At that point, we might want to keep you on an acidophilus-based nutritional supplement, a dairy-free acidophilus-based one that keeps the small intestine more of a lower pH that won't allow for that Candida to grow and proliferate. Like I say, and hopefully, you're seeing how we do this. There's always a reason why. We don't always know, but we know a half a dozen to dozen reasons of what it could be, and we simply explore those. And we do it from a gentle perspective, we're going to figure this out. Let's not worry, because that only causes more stress, which weakens digestion, and let's make it happen. Like, that's what it's all about. Don't give up. Keep pushing, everyone. You'll be able to figure out your health-based goals. You really will. I truly believe that. So thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for all of the reviews of the Rain Barrel Effect on Amazon and other locations. Thank you for all of your reviews of the Cabral concept. If you haven't left a review and you could leave a review, I would very much appreciate that. So take care. Thanks very much. And I will talk with you tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.